Overlook podcast. Got to be back with you guys here with co-host Craig Sager. I'm Najee Wilkins. A lot to talk about today. Going to talk about the biggest recruiting news so far. Also going to talk about some coaching changes, and then we'll get into some college football, what's going on with Ohio State, and then we'll talk about Georgia Tech, obviously Georgia, and then we'll conclude with some NFL. So, Craig, how you feeling today, man?
Feeling good. So lots of coaching news, and then we touched some basketball too. Got to give a
Cool.
shout out to Walton, big win over Wheeler last week. So we got some basketball updates also.
Cool. Let's do it, man. So we'll start with one of the biggest news. I had a story on scoretl.com yesterday, but Tay Harris decommitted from Georgia. Did see that Kirby Smart went and visited him as well recently, but his recruiting's open. Just got a Clemson offer as well, and he was on the flats at Georgia Tech as well. But what's just your thoughts on that?
I really like Tay Harris. He played a huge role his sophomore season when Cedartown nearly won the state title. They came up a yard short to Benedictine. And then this past year, they were a really young team, but his production went up. Uh, Defensive standout, but he can do a little bit of both. And then we saw him at Georgia Elite. And the thing I noticed is they didn't want to throw to his side of the football field the entire game. True lockdown difference maker. We saw that one play where he almost hauled in that pick, and you could tell he was going to take it to the house. He's a phenomenal player, but I think what's interesting about his recruiting, he took those two unofficial visits in June of 2023. That's when he committed to UGA. Picked up some offers along the way later on in the year. I think it was Colorado. But then, man, in January, those offers started piling on. And then that's when he kind of opened it back up again. So I think it's just a product of it just really heating up for him.
No doubt. I definitely agree with you. And I think he probably just wanted to take a moment to assess, where he's at. Because like you said, the recruiting is starting to heat up for him. He is young. I believe he's a junior, be a senior next year. But this is the time we see Craig spring in the summers where it starts to kind of heat up. More offers come in, more visits, and things like that. So I definitely agree with you. A fun player to watch, and we got to see him a little bit. The play that stands out was what you mentioned in the Elite Classic. I just remember him reversing field. Like there was nothing there. He went all the way back and still was able to get like a 30-yard gain, which was absolutely incredible.
That's right. Yeah, that I forgot about that play. Yeah. He was fantastic. But I think he opened it back up after the USC offer, which is very interesting because they were coming in, and then you get the USC one. You're like, okay, I'm gonna be a little patient on this because sky's the limit. He can go anywhere, and he's gonna be a huge prospect moving forward. I really like him. He comes from Cedartown. Uh, they produce some of the strongest prospects anywhere. That's why Nick Chubb goes back there and still works out. Tough kid, has been starting for multiple seasons, and he's obviously going to be a leader this next year.
No doubt. And then other big news, Craig, we've seen Devin Carter of Cedar Grove just won a state championship with the Saints. He just decommitted from Florida State University. We know he's a legacy kid. His dad went there, starred there, Dexter Carter, and had really great years there. So I think this is interesting as well. One of those kind of the same cases, probably just evaluating where he is, just seeing, first and foremost, this is a decision you want to make because he's just entering into his junior season.
That's right. And then I think it's good for them to open it back up before signing day comes up in a couple weeks, and then just see who are they bringing in. Is this going to be a spot where this position that I play is completely loaded? Am I going to have an opportunity? So I have no issue with them committing early. Once that first offer comes in, it opens up. But I think the key is just waiting after this crazy transfer portal and signing period, and then just seeing what it looks like after this.
No doubt, I agree with that. I know we haven't went to the college part of our segment yet, but I want to get your quick thoughts on that, Craig. Just the transfer portal as a whole and how it's affecting these kids, and we're seeing kids, kind of wait a little bit to see if that's where they really want to go. I talked to Jordan Broad, and he said the same thing. He has to kind of evaluate everything and see if things are a fit, and transfer portal is really affecting them.
Yeah, I think probably 2 years ago when we would talk to some coaches at the high school level that were frustrated with the transfer portal, it was almost like the possibility of kids transferring was delaying the process at the high school level. But now it's an actual hot thing. Like the transfer portal is real. Uh, you really got to wait and see. I think before colleges would be hesitant maybe to offer a kid because they didn't know if a kid's going to transfer out. But now it's just a reality. We're seeing it with Alabama, Florida State, Georgia. every college program is experiencing it right now at a rate that has never happened before. So I think this year it's really playing a big impact.
No doubt, 100% agree. And we're seeing that now, and that transitions to the next part of this segment. Just the latest coaching changes. Craig, you were hitting on them a little bit yesterday, but just what stands out to you? I saw Union Grove hire Greg Harris, but what were some other big ones that you saw that kind of stood out for some of these teams as the coaching carousel continues?
I pointed out the one yesterday was Holy Innocents, and that is a very intriguing one. I thought Coach Todd Winter did a phenomenal job there. They played great defense the last few seasons. Probably historically their most competitive years. They're playing up in 4A, and then offensively they do run the triple option. So, is a new coach going to come in, maybe modernize the offense or whatever? But the other reason the Holy Innocents job is important is it's no secret when you're a head coach in Georgia, from the time you start until the time you retire, that's 30 years. So there are a lot of coaches that get into it in their early 20s. Um, they'll coach at public schools. And then once you have that 30 years, you're able to go to a private school, collect your pension, collect your retirement money, and basically double dip and then take a full private salary. So I think we could see one of these other veteran coaches that is past that go into the Holy Innocents job. That's always the appeal of these private schools. And I also think it is just a solid place. Holy Innocents, across the board athletically, they've been outstanding, and that really is one of the few private schools we've seen open up in this cycle. So I think it's going to play a big role in the carousel, just attracting a potential veteran coach. I know Terry Crowder stepped down. That's something that we've seen him do. Won state titles at Chattahoochee, did a great job at Creekview, went to Kings Ridge. He's a potential, but I think that one will play a part.
No doubt, 100% agree with you there, Craig. And that's going to be important to see who they replace with Todd Winter. He had some really good success with the Bears and getting them to the playoffs and making them a very competitive program. So, going to be interesting to see. What was your thoughts on the Pepperell hiring of Brendan Haywood? Another name that's been kind of, obviously buzzing in the coaching world. But what was your thoughts of them officially landing him?
That one's really exciting. He's about my age. Played college football, but he's from that area. He played at Rockmart High School. That's actually the biggest rival of Pepperell. So
Gotcha.
Rockmart had a phenomenal season as well, but so did Pepperell. They beat Darlington. They were really competitive. I think they ended up losing to, might have been Swainsboro, one of the teams that made it to the championship this year. But Rick Hurst was there a long time, and so there's a great foundation there, great tradition. But he's replacing a veteran coach. He's familiar with the area, and I think he'll be excited to be there. I think it's a good small town community environment, a great place to have your first ever head coaching gig. And I think they'll just be excited to see what he brings to the table. And I'm going to hopefully have him on the show this week.
Nice. So, guys, that exclusive is coming up, as Craig just talked about, getting it with Pepperell new head coach Brendan Haywood. He also was able to get the head coach recently in Pickens County. We know very well, Craig Bennett. So you guys can go check that out all on the YouTube page that will be there. So definitely go check that out, man. That'll be a lot of fun. I think Wednesday or Friday, you said, right?
Yes.
No doubt.
Let's see. He texted me when his official day was. Let me just pull this up real quick. He said that was Coach Finley. One sec, guys. Okay, so yeah, this is Coach Haywood. He said, I appreciate reaching out. I get approved on January 22nd. So that was yesterday. So he should be ready to roll on Wednesday. But yeah, there's been, I think it's up to about 50 now that have opened up. But
nice.
I think the Mays one, that one's still definitely on the top of the list. Midtown, that's going to be a big one. They want to hit the ground running. Let's see. McDonough, I mentioned that one yesterday. Rodney Cofield, he's a coaching legend, coached at Douglas back in the day. From APS, he went over to McDonough.
Yep.
They had a chance to make history this past year. They just came up short in a tough region, obviously with the Pace Academies, Westminster's Lovitz. You got Mount Vernon opened up. They had a really solid year as well. Wayne Dabbs, that is um, another private school. And then Ola, I thought Tom Kazi this last year did a phenomenal job. We mentioned he was one of the three coaches that came over from the Birmingham area that had won a state title. That was Josh Niblett. That was Coach Curvin, who went to Alpharetta, and then Tom Kazi. And so I think he might take one of these big openings because Ola definitely didn't want to see him leave after the success he brought them.
No doubt. I mean, yeah, he definitely had a good past season for them. They were very competitive in that region that was pretty much real deep with Jones County, obviously Warner Robins and those boys. But yeah, I 100% agree. Curious to see where he goes. And losing him is definitely big.
Yep. And then one correction Brendan Haywood was at Woodland Cartersville. So will be his second head coaching job.
Nice.
So yeah, he did a great job there. But yeah, we will be updating all that. It's been pretty busy, but it looks like they're filling up and should be good to go by spring. I would expect all these to be full. And there's not really any new schools opening their doors this year. We saw last year with Sechinger, some other brand new programs. I think this year there's not going to be a situation where you're having to leave one campus, go to another one, and try to start a program. So spring should be a little more calm this year.
For sure. And then before we go to the next part of the segment, is any other big news that stood out too far as just coaching and coaching changes, Craig? I think we hit on most of it.
Yeah, we hit on most of them. I think the Harrison one, definitely one to watch for. It's a big-time job in Cobb County. They won a state title just a few years back. I think that will be an interesting one, and lots of good candidates in that um, job opening for sure.
100%. Yep. So that's what we got for now. If we have any more news, obviously we'll break it and we'll put it on Score ATL. So stay tuned for that. Craig's show, I'm sure tomorrow we'll cover even more. But that's what we got for us Tuesday right now at noon, the biggest news. But, man, we had some other news. I seen some kids committing in high school. One for me was Ken Robinson committing to Washburn. That's where his former quarterback, Caden Clark, is also at. I thought that was, obviously huge for him. Just one of those underrated players that, it's always been great. He made the Score Atlanta top 75. He just had an incredible season. And I think Robinson it seemed like every time it was a big game, he performed well. The first game of the Corky Kell Classic, he had one Offensive Player of the Game and MVP. I think, they're definitely getting a great player, somebody that always comes to play no matter what.
You're talking about Cam Robinson?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
He is extremely underrated. We obviously put him in our scored top 70, just missed out on the top 10. But, yeah, you look at what he did every single game this last year was incredible. Averaging about 170 yards in one of the toughest schedules anywhere in the state. I think he is a complete back. He's a workhorse, and I think he's very patient, runs behind a great line. He's gonna be a steal for sure. And then obviously there was big news over early January. We mentioned the All-American. We mentioned Trajan Greco. That was a big one out of Mill Creek. But I really think it's going to come down to just signing day. You mentioned Bam Bride. He's kind of still waiting. That's a very dynamic player that can do a lot of different things. Great speed. Can make ridiculous catches. Can hit hard. I think he's another steal. And it looks like he's still narrowing it down.
Yep. Supposed to be at Grambling State this weekend. Yep. So still going through it. CJ Hurd, I know it's still available as well out of Woodward Academy. Still hasn't made his choice just yet. That's their safety. So that's interesting to see. He was committed to Florida State previously, but still deciding as well.
Yeah, it looks like Brent Washington from Rockmart committed to Georgia State today. Picked up Jacoby Jones. Georgia State did yesterday. Another linebacker for Mary Persons, the only team to beat Prince Ave this season. So Trinity Christian got Jake Jones Kennesaw State. Heard County's LJ Green, West Georgia. So we're seeing the smaller Georgia schools start to pick it up, and these are obviously class of 2024 guys. Still a lot left to sign.
No doubt. So We will definitely be sifting through that. We are less than 2 weeks away from National Signing Day. That's the regular period, which you seen what we covered earlier was the um, early signing period, but this is going to be regular period. Just the guys that haven't committed just yet, still weighing their options, still trying to decide where they're going to go. So we'll obviously have insight and coverage on that as that starts to rapidly progress and get here. But yeah, I think that's all we have for now on the high schools. You see anything else, Craig?
I just want to mention last night's big girls game, River Ridge and Sequoia. If you guys don't know, River Ridge, man, they won the state title last year. They're dominating this season. They have one senior on the roster. This is a dynasty that we're witnessing right now. And then their win last night, 58-30 over Sequoia. Look at this box score. Sequoia had 13 points in the first half, 18 heading into the fourth. Their defense this year, River Ridge, has been phenomenal. They held Altoona to just 5 points last month. They're going to play them tonight. And then it's just the balance is so impressive. And then the rebounding from last night, I want to give a shout out. That was Allie Sweet, 16 boards. And then Kayla Cleveland, a junior, 12 boards. So they just dominated. Second time, that's their big rivalry. It looks like they're going to get that top seed heading into the region tournament. That will guarantee them a playoff spot. They'll just have to win the semis, then the region championship, and it's going to be home court and a chance to take home another title after winning it for the first time ever last year. So big result last night, and congrats to the Knights.
No doubt. Craig had the coach on yesterday, so you guys can go back and watch that as well. But definitely a big win for them is, like you said, they are a budding dynasty. We got to see them at the Quick Hill basketball, and they just look like a team that's fully equipped. And like you said, only one senior, very young team that's getting a lot of good experience, and that's well coached as well.
Absolutely. So like last night wasn't their best game shooting from three, but they're so good on the foul line. They shoot like 80% as a team. That is unheard of. Most teams in high school, they're in that like 50 to 60 range. So when one thing's not working for them, they can adjust, they can adapt. They're a great team, and Coach Taylor does a great job.
No doubt. But that's what we got on the Hoop News. We're going to transition to our second segment, talk a little bit about football. It's transfer portal, man. I think this is really intriguing. We'll start with Julian Sayin, who was one of the top quarterbacks in 24. He just transferred to Ohio State. I think it's going to be interesting because it's kind of, what does this mean for Aaron Nolan, right? He's the 5-star going in there as well. And I definitely think they're going to have to get this position right. We're going to talk about the talent, obviously, that Ohio State has in just a second, but they got to hit on quarterback. Last year, they didn't hit on it. We've seen that their quarterback transferred out. But this year, I definitely think this is a position they got to get right. They got to come up to play because they got the weapons, and Meko Book is coming back. And, a lot of their pieces are going to be in place. Well, probably one of the more talented teams Ohio State has had. So there's going to be imperative that they get this right. I expect these two guys to go out there in camp and obviously spring practice, but it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top in this position in QB battle.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was a little surprised, especially as you mentioned, with Prentice Aaron Nolan already there, 5-star, number 2 quarterback in Georgia this year, behind Raiola, arguably number 1. But going from Alabama, where the situation is kind of open, you're going to have a new coaching staff in. I would have thought he'd want to wait and see for a year, but I guess he's just going to try to battle it out at Ohio State. They've been cleaning up in the transfer portal lately, but we'll see if he's able to play.
Yeah, we're going to see. Apparently I think, their head coach, Kalen DeBoer, is looking for something specific because I know their former Washington quarterback also transferred over as well to Alabama. So I think it's going to be interesting to see, who's going to be their starter. And obviously, I think that played a little bit into his decision of why he transferred there. But, yeah, I think, Ryan Day, they're going to have the talent at the position. Now it's just getting it to play and perform on Saturdays. And it's going to be an intriguing battle. We're going to hear about it all through spring. So I can't wait to see, man, who comes out on top. And obviously, Prentice Aaron Nolan has not came out. He said, "Go Buckeyes." I think one of his other posts. So he is locked and loaded. No transferring for him. So he's going to see it through.
And the thing I'll say about Julian, I was looking at his stats this past season. They ended up falling. I think it was late in the playoffs by a point. But it's like in that game, he was like 31 of 36, 4 touchdowns. So he didn't cost him that game. If you look at it, he played solid every single week this last season. I think that's what you're getting, a consistent, just solid quarterback. So he's going to be in that competition. I just thought it was interesting to deflect on Bama and then go to Ohio State when they have a lot of pieces up there already. So we'll see. But
Yep.
yeah, he'll definitely be in the mix coming off a great year. He's a top rated passer for a reason.
No doubt. And then speaking of pieces, they landed another marquee piece on the defensive side of the ball. Caleb Downs, who I thought was a sure-in for Georgia, officially transferred to Ohio State this past week. Obviously, we know he's one of the best players in the country. Was an All-American this year, SEC All-First Team. Had so many accolades just in his freshman season, but he officially transferred to Ohio State. Just what's your kind of first reaction to that, Craig?
Well, I obviously think Caleb Downs is one of the best players I've ever seen play. Uh, he's been doing it since youth ball. He's just that guy that's going to make that game-changing play when you need him. He's always going to show up. He's super competitive, physically built, can produce turnovers, big plays, spectacular plays. So, I mean, he's going to go up there and make a big difference. Ohio State's getting a All-American, and I don't think Georgia would have been the right fit. They're already loaded at safety.
They are.
But yeah, I mean, he becomes the leader of that defense. That's what I think.
No doubt. I thought about that too. I know Georgia was linked, and I was thinking same thing. I was like, well, where does he fit in? Because wherever he goes, he's going to play now. And, obviously you got Malachi Starks, that position locked down. They did lose Javon Bullard, but then you got good DBs. You got DeMello Jones coming in. You got KJ Bolden. Not going to lie, that would be a lot of fun to see Malachi Starks and, obviously, Caleb Downs kind of be on the same field together. But, yeah, I agree with you. I think Ohio State's the best fit. And I think what this does, Craig, is it puts pressure on them. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about the NIL and stuff like that in a second. But I think when you get guys like a Julian Sand and a Caleb Downs from Bama, and then you get one of the top running backs in the portal and Quishon Junkins coming in, and you also have I believe Trevion Henderson coming back and Emeka Ibuka coming back, and your defense was one of the better units last year on your team. That's a lot of talent. And I think it's going to be a win-now situation for Ryan Day. Like, if they don't beat Michigan this year, especially with the uncertainty of what Jim Harbaugh is going to do if he comes back or he doesn't, and a lot of their players leaving for either the draft or, playing somewhere else, it's going to put a lot of pressure on Ohio State to win, I think, now. And they're going to have to be a competitive team. And I think I would be surprised if they don't make the NCAA championship. If they don't make it, his job could be at risk. Ryan Day's could.
Absolutely. And they came so close in that loss to Michigan. Obviously, it was not an ideal situation. The bowl game, they lose a sloppy game to Missouri 10-3. But these transfers are, I think, a clear sign. They know that this Michigan game is the biggest game on their schedule next season. There's going to be no doubt about it. No hiding it anymore. It's not, every game matters. No, that's the game. You have to do whatever it takes to get back on top of that rivalry and take down Michigan. You cannot fall to them this year, and that's going to be the emphasis all season long.
No doubt, Craig. And you got to think about, too, the new additions to the Big Ten. Believe it's off the top of my head, I was trying to make sure and confirm, but USC, UCLA, I believe Oregon. I'm not sure if Washington's in that combo, but I know it's those three for sure. My thing is moving a little slow, but Craig's going to double check and see if I'm right. But I know it's 4 new teams in the Big Ten, so Craig's going to confirm.
UCLA, USC,
Oregon.
Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. Yep. 2024, you got Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Maryland, Michigan, Michigan State, Minnesota, Nebraska, Northwestern, Wisconsin, Washington, USC, UCLA, Rutgers, Purdue, Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon.
Okay, so I was right on the ball. So they'll have 4 new additions. Ooh. So it doesn't get any easier. We see how good Oregon is. Dan Lennon, obviously I think is the right coach in place. They had a really good year. They coming back loaded. He didn't leave for a certain reason. So the Big Ten next year is going to be interesting. I think that's what makes college football so fun next year. It got so many additions, so many new teams. going into new conferences. The big one, obviously, the SEC, Oklahoma and Texas going to the SEC. But that Big Ten is going to be intriguing, and the Big 12 as well, adding their new teams in Colorado, I believe Iowa State, and several other big teams they added in. So I think it's going to be intriguing. But yeah, Ohio State's definitely going to have to do it, and we also got the expansion of the 12-team playoff as well, correct, next year. But
right.
I think it's a win now situation. If they don't, I think his job could be in jeopardy potentially.
Yep, and that will be at Ohio State.
Yep.
That's going to be tremendous. But yeah, I mean, you have to win that rivalry, especially seeing them take it all this year. They've been so aggressive in the transfer portal. As soon as that season ended, they know they have to get the superstar talent that's ready to play right away, fit in, and bring that energy and excitement around the program.
No doubt. So we're going to find out. We'll be following that storyline next season, so that'll be fun. But speaking of storylines, what was your thoughts, too? We didn't talk about it, Craig, but Jake Pope, formerly of Alabama, transferring over to Georgia, another safety for them. Originally went to Buford, so you might have seen him play. I know I didn't, but just what are your thoughts on him as a player as a whole? I know you don't have any major stats, didn't really play a lot there, but what do you think? What do you foresee as his role with Georgia?
So he was such a huge part of that championship season at Buford. I think they went 13-1. And I just remember he was a sure tackler, came up huge turnovers, big hits, and I haven't seen him in college, but what I saw in high school, if he's even bigger now, I think he's just, a smart player, a state champion, and I'm sure he's very happy to be returning to Georgia. He's good enough to get a scholarship to Alabama. Let's just put it that way. He was legit.
That he was. So it's interesting to see what role they carve out for him at Georgia. Hopefully he'll get more playing time. But like you said, man, that room is absolutely loaded, that DB room. Probably, as I said, I think one of their best position groups going into next year that they don't have to worry a lot about.
Yeah, and I used to be a scout team wide receiver at UGA. I can't imagine doing that now. Going up against those guys. Yeah.
Good luck.
Malachi Starks over the middle. Yeah. That is a heck of a group. I think it might be one of the best secondaries Georgia's ever had. No doubt, even without Caleb going there.
Yeah, no doubt. That's just how impressive they are, man. So last thing, Craig, on Georgia, did you have any big things that you saw, storylines, just surrounding? I know they've been kind of active in the portal. I know Kirby Smart's been making some visits as well on some campuses.
Yeah, that's what I have been impressed with. The amount of visits that Kirby's doing, it's insane. He's obviously got that helicopter, but I mean, he's on like warp speed time. It's like 10 different schools each day and just all over, hitting them up. So they have a plan, they're executing it, and he is all over the place.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I know, this is a busy time for everyone, but I mean, he's meeting with Juju. He's all over the place.
Yeah. Do you see, so we didn't talk about that either. That's another big storyline we haven't talked about on the show, but Juju obviously reclassifying to 25, and then obviously we've seen Kirby visit him. Bama's pretty hot on this trail. He just got re-offered last night. Just what's your thoughts on that? Do you think USC is going to be able to keep that commitment from him, or do you foresee him going to a SEC school?
I think him reclassifying makes it very likely that he doesn't go to USC.
You think so?
Yes.
Now, why do you think that, Greg? I got to get your thoughts.
Because he's staying in the state. He's got 1 year left. I think it's just going to be too enticing, depending on how the season goes, for one of these local schools to really come in and show him the vision for what they want and lay it out. And obviously he's got great support around him, not only with his family, but with Coach King. He's going to want to make the best decision for him as well. He's got a lot of new exciting pieces. I think he's a guy that can bring players with him to wherever he wants. I just think that if you're a USC fan, it is definitely not a lock because they're going to be coming after him.
Certainly are, man. So,
yeah, it's just hard to turn down these opportunities. Like,
for sure.
He's already probably the highest evaluated high schooler that we've ever seen. I mean, maybe Bronny James was last year, but in terms of high school football, Juju's the star. He's going to have a huge spotlight on him this year. Sure, it'll be a ton of televised games. Everyone's going to know who he is, and it's going to be one of the biggest decisions when he makes it.
No doubt. I don't disagree with that. I don't know if we talked about it either, just the pieces they've got. But do you think this is a year do you think, obviously we'll talk more about it as the season goes and progresses a little bit into the spring, but do you think it would be disappointing if Carrollton doesn't reach a state championship game or even win?
Absolutely.
Really?
I thought them making it his freshman year was incredible. I think part of that was because they did have an easier region, and so they had the perfect regular season, had some big playoff wins. Obviously, Bryce Hicks came up huge in the Walton win, in the Colquitt win. This year, Walton beat them, but I think heading into next season, they got some really strong pieces. There's so much support around that program. I think it's just going to be about finding some of these sophomores and juniors that are rising stars, throwing them in the mix, and then you've got Kamari Farmer, you got Peyton Zachary coming into the mix. They have so much talent around them. They're just going to have to go out, execute well, and I think they can make that run. But it's going to come down to Juju, and I think he's definitely good enough to do it.
Yeah, I said offensively, you might laugh when I say this correct. I said they got to start in 5. Kamari Farmer, Juju, Ryan Mosley, Zealous Hicks, and then Peyton Zachary.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you do defensively to stop all that. Good luck.
It's going to be really tough to do.
Yes, for sure. Definitely.
Man.
Good luck. That's all I can tell you. Good luck. But we'll keep going. Just last thing on the college segment. Just a little bit of updates around just Georgia Tech. They have a very daunting schedule. I'm not gonna lie. ACC schedule officially unveiled today for them, but they got to face these marquee opponents. They have one of the toughest ACC schedules. Craig, listen to these opponents they got to face this upcoming year: Georgia, Notre Dame, Miami, NC State, Louisville, and the Florida State game will be in Ireland. So already pegged as one of the toughest schedules that they will have. I think it's going to be intriguing to see just kind of, how battle tested. They will be battle tested, but how will they kind of come out in these games? None of these are easy. I think Florida State, even though they won't have Jordan Travis, they're going to be right there. I think, again, still a very talented bunch. Did a good job recruiting. Notre Dame's always going to be tough. We know how good Georgia is. I think Miami is another program that struggled a little bit, but they're a program on the rise. So I think it's intriguing to see.
Yeah, I think what we're going to see this upcoming year from Tech, I think they're going to start the season off better this year. Took them a couple weeks to really start playing their best. I think they're going to come out sharp. So that will be beneficial, and they're going to need to. And then it'll just be about sustaining that throughout the year. Thought you'd like this. Ashton Moore, you've been covering him, just got an offer from Georgia State.
He did. He actually got an offer about 10 minutes ago. I seen when we were doing the show. We got one from UCF, too.
Yep, and he will be in the Corky Cal this year.
Yes, he will.
For Alpharetta.
Watch out.
What'd you think of the Dom news? Speaking of Georgia Tech.
Yeah, we talked about that off air. I think it's intriguing. You brought up some really good points when we talked about it, Craig. I just think, he wasn't a guy that had necessarily a dominant season, like, maybe not like a Eric Singleton season, how he did, and it was, freshman All-American. But I felt like he was just a guy that always just, good culture player, comes in, knows the locker room well, just a guy that stars in his role. That's what I always felt with Dominic play a lot. Like, whatever role you had for him, no excuses, nothing given to coaches. He just came in, worked hard, put his head down, and was just always a valuable component of a team. And I felt like he was that at Georgia when they won their national championships, and I feel like he's been that for Georgia Tech as they continue to rise and be one of those programs that, are catching a lot of people's eyes. So that's kind of my thoughts on Dom. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. He never really had that full season where he was really able to be that number 1 and number 2 guy. I think just his decision, though, it's going to come down to these workouts. Like, if he can go in there and just, like, really impress, I think he's going to be able to run a 4.4. He's got the size. He's a very intelligent player. But I think if he is able to showcase, like, what you said, just the ability to kind of fit into different offensive schemes as a receiver, be versatile, I think he can entice the team to take a chance on him. And as Rusty said, a lot of people are going to be rooting for him. But it is a little unconventional to see a guy that Yeah, it would have been his 5th season, but he has been hurt in previous years. And so a lot of people were expecting this to be his year to really prove that he can make it to the next level, but he's going to take his chance.
No doubt. So I think it's going to be interesting, and we've seen it. Craig, a great example of maybe him that had a couple injuries was Puka Nacua, right? He was at
Yep.
BYU, but look what he did in the league. He had probably one of the best or the best rookie seasons ever in NFL history, just with what he was able to do. So sometimes you just need a team to take a chance on you. I think they took him 5th or maybe 6th round. So
Yep.
it could be one of those situations, just like I said, and he's a guy that takes advantage of his opportunities, and I think he'll do the same. So as you mentioned, just having good workouts, having good times. If he's able to get invited to the national combine in March in Indianapolis, just doing what you can and just impressing these scouts.
Yep, and he's already locked down his representation that's supporting him.
Yep.
So yeah, rooting for him.
For
That'd
sure.
be really exciting if he gets taken this year.
Yes. Well, a couple more good big breaking news around Georgia Tech. I'll just give you guys some quick updates. Around the program, they're actually building a new weight room as well as some new facilities that they have been telling their some of their prospects. So a lot of kids have been blown away by that. They just had one of the junior days this past weekend. They have another one coming up on the 27th. And they had some major prospects on the flats this past weekend. They had Antoine Hill, Jonte Gilbert, Aaron Gregory, Christian Garrett of Prince Avenue Christian. So some major players that they are trying to definitely target. I know Gilbert is very, very high on their list. They paid him a visit this past week, and he also visited the campus as well. So a very successful junior day. I thought a lot of the kids talked about just the academics that they have, the support, and just kind of how they liked how they had a plan for them already and how they would fit into their offense and things like that. So I think, as we've been saying, the program on the rise, but that was junior day essentially. And that's the latest of developments going on. New weight room, and they're building some new facilities, and they're on the groundwork right now. And a lot of kids really like the bubble that they were in. It is in Atlanta, but it's kind of in its own bubble, kind of to itself. So they have really been impressing kids, and a lot of kids, including Aaron Gregory, said they can't wait to get back on the flats and plan to throughout the spring and summer.
Yep, and when we're there for Corky Kell 7-on-7, they were giving players tours of some of those facilities. So the new ones, they'll be proud to show them off. And I think last year it was a big deal when you have Coach Key there, you have the entire staff, they're offering kids on the spot. I feel like that was exciting last year, the success Tech had last season, and then what Coach Key has done to really become a good destination. I think it's going to be hype this year with kids knowing that they can show up, do their thing, and catch the attention of a program on the rise like this. It's going to be a great opportunity.
No doubt. So that will be, I believe, in June when that 7-on-7 will be. So we'll be there in attendance. And as Craig mentioned, man, just a program on the rise. And I think, as we mentioned, just it's so cool. You can impress the coaches and, like you said, get offered on the spot, change your life. And now we used to say Power 5, but now we'll say Power 4. Get a Power 4 offer from Georgia Tech and go play D1 football. It doesn't get much better than that. But all right, Craig, we got to talk about the nitty gritty, man. Let's move to the third segment and conclude the show, man. Let's talk about these divisional games and look ahead to the conference championship. So just let's react. We can go to, obviously, I think we should save the best for last. The Bills and Chiefs gave us another classic. But let's start with Saturday, Ravens versus the Texans. What were your thoughts on that game? I thought, for me, if I'm a Ravens fan, I felt a little a little bit of stuff in my stomach. Like, wasn't feeling good because it was 10-10 and, Stroud had a potential chance to go up in that game. They couldn't convert it, but come back in the second half, very dominant. Lamar has already came out, Craig, and said that he was in the locker room. He was cussing some of them out. Like, we got to go get this. And they came back, and you've seen that had a whole impact on the team, and they won it 34-10. What were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, so Houston, their defense held its own early, but I just thought Lamar did a good job of just wearing them away with what he does best, those big plays with his legs, the rushing touchdowns, 4 touchdowns total. He was exciting in the second half. That the crowd was just really loud. They dominated late in the game. Lots of different people involved. I thought Lamar did a phenomenal job, and I know we're going to talk about it coming up, but I expect from him this next round, he's not going to want to go in there and let's show off this aspect of my game. This is the opportunity to see the complete Lamar Jackson, the spectacular runs, the crazy breakaway speed, The decision making, this is his opportunity, and saw a scary Ravens team that I think is the most complete still left in the playoffs.
No doubt. I think you brought up a great point. Just how they were able to lock down, held them scoreless essentially in the second half. The pressure they were able to put on CJ Stroud, making him uncomfortable, covering very well downfield. I mean, just how their corners have been playing, the safety, Kyle Hamilton. I mean, went to Maris here in Atlanta, and just the step he's taken, already making an All-Pro team in the second season, just from year one to now, as one of the top safeties in the game is incredible. So, as you mentioned, that defense, nothing to play with. Roquan Smith, Kyle Van Noy, and those boys, man, they were ready to play. And I think it's if I said anything, I know we talked about this before, Craig, in the high school level with Walton. I felt like this was the year. Like if they were going to win, this would have to be the year they were going to win. I felt like that for Lamar. I know he got more years coming. I know they got a good defense, but I feel like if this is the year they're going to be able to compete and win, this is the year to do it, right? The AFC, to a degree, is a little compromised. Aaron Rodgers was hurt this year. Joe Burrow was hurt this year. You did have Josh Allen, but the AFC wasn't what we thought it was going to be going into the season, you know? So I think this is his best chance to do it. And I commend him what he was able to do. 4 touchdowns in that game, 2 rushing, 2 passing, being able to rush for over 100 yards. He showed the full repertoire. And I think Houston with CJ Stroud, they're going to be around for a long time. I do. I think they're going to be able to compete. And what they were able to do, Craig, in year one of D'Amico Ryan's rookie CJ Stroud, they got some invaluable experience this playoff round. And now they're going to be able to add bits and pieces to this team and just get better and better.
Yeah, for sure. I think they ran into a Ravens team that is complete. They're built for the 4-quarter game, and then Lamar in those special moments is great. And when I saw some of those throws he made, I talked about in the pocket. He's freezing the defense because they know he can pick up those yards. He can escape the first rusher and either take off or throw it over the middle. He is doing a great job at seeing it, stepping back, and then delivering it over that first level, hitting his guys in stride. Receiver core is doing a great job of fighting for these extra yards, knowing where the sticks are. I think it's going to come down to him showcasing what everyone's seeing with him, just the complete package that he brings to the table, brings to the offense. I think we're going to see it this week, and it's going to be a great matchup. But it was fun to watch him shine, and that Baltimore crowd is going to be electric.
No doubt. Well, that gets us to our next game, man. What did you think? I'm not going to lie, Craig. I had a butt whipping in this one, but it was not that. 49ers versus the Packers. The Packers felt like, to me, like they should have won that game. Towards the end, Jordan Love throws that pick across his body. I thought he could have just, took the sack or threw it away. But just to be able to go in that game against a very powered 49ers team that's deep, right? Debo did get hurt, but, you got Debo, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings had to step in, Christian McCaffrey. That defense, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and those boys, just I thought they came in and Green Bay, to me, the biggest takeaway for me, Greg, Green Bay looks like another team that's kind of like Houston. They're going to be a team on the rise, like to do what Jordan Love did for most of that game and keep them in it and have them ahead, and a game that San Fran was fully favored. I think they got the pieces. And that the crazy thing, Craig, and I'll throw it to you, that is the youngest team in the NFL this season. To do what they did against a Super Bowl favorite, Super Bowl contender, I think speaks volumes.
Yeah, they became very scary this season. I thought they played the best second half of the season out of anyone. We expect them to definitely make noise in the playoffs. Came up just short, a winnable game, but I just think, San Francisco is a little too tough, and that late mistake, you can't have plays like that. And they're playing aggressive. They're trying to go out there and win, but certainly it's a learning opportunity. And I think Packers fans, out of all these teams that lost this week, they've got to be feeling pretty good because they exceeded expectations and they finally seem to have come back from a frustrating last few years.
No doubt. So that'll be interesting. And I think that was the biggest test for the 49ers. We'll obviously preview the game in a little bit against the Lions, but shout out to the Packers, man. That was a great effort, and I think they're going to be able to take a lot and glean a lot from that game. But the next one, Lions-Bucks, I thought the Lions pulled away there in the second half. Bucks gave them all they could, but those turnovers late, C.J. Gardner-Johnson got an interception, started the game. Baker threw it, another interception for the Lions. I just thought, this is one of those years for the Lions, man. I think the first time in the NFC Championship game since 1992. So, I mean, it's just a team, they don't have a lot of faults, right? To me, I mean, defensively, you might say, at the linebacker spot, sometimes some of their corners. But I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery running the ball, golf playing complementary football, being able to get the ball to Amon-Ra St. Brown. And crazy to think, right? We thought it was going to be Kincaid and Luke Musgrave, but Sam Laporta has emerged as one of the top tight ends in the game right now as a rookie. I think he's definitely in that conversation, top 5, top 10. So they got a lot of ways they could beat you. They could run it, they could throw it. But what was your thoughts on that game? Bucks coming up just short.
I expected it because I know it's completely unrelated, but you had Michigan winning the national title. You had the Lions winning the playoff game a couple weeks later. I said, man, if they win this one, anything can happen. Just them making it to a Super Bowl would be such a big deal for that franchise that has just been
Putrid.
the laughing stock for so long.
Yeah.
They beat a great Rams team in the first round in a really tight ball game. They looked solid again. As you mentioned, there's a solid team. And I think the 49ers game is going to be very fun to watch. It'll be a close one. I don't know if they can get past them, but I just think there's something special going on right now. They're having fun, and once you start winning these playoff games, we've seen it before. So it reminds me almost of when the Bengals made it to the Super Bowl that year.
Respect that, Craig. I mean, yeah, it's incredible, especially when you can, finally break that drought. They broke a drought for them, and it just kind of snowballs. Like you beat, and then okay, boom, you win the next one. Oh wow, we're here now. We're in the, and you brewing with this confidence as you mentioned, Craig, and it's like, they might be able to do something out of this. And I know they're going with a lot of confidence in the Santa Clara, and they're ready to play against the 49ers. They're not scared. So
not at all.
No. So I think it's intriguing.
Yeah. They're going to have a good game plan.
Yep.
I think what we're seeing this year also, and I think we'll especially see it in this next round, it seems like 5 years ago, you talked about like the Brady matchups and stuff. It was almost like, here's this quarterback, see who can win, see who can throw the best game.
Yep.
Seeing a lot more controlling time of possession, and not just at the end of the quarters, like real game strategies. Like, hey, we are going to try to keep it away from them as much as possible.
Yep.
I think Detroit has to do that this upcoming week. I thought that was a big concern for the Buffalo and Kansas City game. Buffalo's been near the top of the league this year at controlling time of possession with Josh Allen's running ability, the backfield. And so, yeah, in this upcoming conference championship week, I think you're going to see almost like what we see at the high school level with these game plans, controlling the clock, having long drives. It's not just going to be a quarterback competition anymore.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think that's the key. And we've seen it, speaking of that transition to our next topic, just Buffalo, KC. And we've seen Buffalo do that. Like they were controlling the ball, trying to keep it away from Mahomes. They dominated time of possession that game, 38 minutes to like 23, 24. And they were finally being able to run the ball. Like you guys adjusted in the second half, which was great. But first half, it was getting 7-8 yards of carry. And I thought they had a really good game plan. But, came up short. Obviously, the missed field goal hurts, and them getting the first down with Pacheco in the game. But what were just your thoughts on that? I mean, I think you guys have the Bills number, 3-0 now in the playoffs. To me, I think it matters, Craig. It doesn't matter if you won because they won the last year regular season. I think it matters in the playoffs. To me, that doesn't really matter the regular season. Can you win it in those big moments? And they've done that time and time again.
Yeah, they won because Kadarius Toney was offsides. That's why they won that game.
Yeah.
And thinking this one, it's like I mentioned, the Bills did a great job in the first half, closing it out with the lead. Josh Allen rushing touchdown. They were playing well, but thought they left Travis Kelce wide open on that touchdown. Just, I don't understand how that happens. Letting him get behind you. Because really, in terms of the Kansas City receiving core, it's like, yeah, they're doing a good job, but they aren't getting over the top. So I think that's just like a missed coverage, or at least try to knock him off his route. The Chiefs did a good job of just, I think, having like a less is more approach. They seemed to be patient throughout the game. And then once they had the lead, they did make the mistake on the McCole Hardman fumble, but Buffalo didn't do anything to try to win the game. settling for that field goal outside in those conditions,
Good luck.
yeah, that is just tough.
Yeah, I think the big thing for you, Craig, and I think you'll appreciate this. We talked about it before the postseason, and I think it was maybe week 12, week 13. We had our show. We were talking, and we was like, who's going to be the receiver to emerge for the Chiefs potentially and be that kind of number one guy? And I think we saw it. Like, I think that's Rashee Rice. Like,
Yeah.
he's been doing. He's young. He's only a rookie from SMU, but I think he's that receiver that has emerged for you guys and a dependable target that Mahomes can throw to. And we've seen a lot of uncharacteristic things for the Chiefs, right? Travis Kelce dropping balls, 50 yards a game and a touchdown. That's not him. That game he had 2 touchdowns. Marquez Valdez-Scantling came up big with coming down with contested catches in that one. We've seen Rashee Rice in the opening parts of the game and in the middle of the game having big catches over the middle and turning it into Buffalo territory. So I think that's one of the keys I saw. You guys officially have a number one that you can build around after this season. Now just getting the complementary pieces to support that. But I think his emergence has been big. And then your defense. Struggled in the first half, but the adjustments Steve Spagnuolo made defensively to kind of, slow down that running game, make it tough. They didn't really score, in the fourth quarter at all. And after that fake punt, that was mind-boggling. I don't know why you would run that there. Buffalo couldn't do anything, and sometimes too, back to your point, Craig, when you get down there in those conditions, you got to know as the quarterback. And I thought Josh Allen did a great job managing that game throughout. He did. He had a really good game, but that moment specifically, you got to throw it to Stephon Diggs right there. You get near or almost a first down. Now, granted, some guys, they did not catch the ball. That Stephon Diggs drop was big. That other drop by Sherfield down the field, tough catch, but, that was big as well. So I think it's a little bit of everything. And, it's unfortunate, the reality, Craig, that he's 0-3 against y'all now, and that's going to be a lot of what everybody's going to talk about. Doesn't matter that, those drops happen. It's going to matter what the kind of box score was. And it's kind of what it is.
Yeah, I thought that was a sigh of relief when they went deep instead of throwing it over the middle, trying to run out the clock that way. Another thing, I think Buffalo should have tried to put a little more pressure on Mahomes in that game.
I agree.
Was camping back there in the second half, and you cannot have that.
No, I thought they tried to adjust, Craig, but you guys had it blocked up. No sacks in the game.
Yep.
That's a credit to offensive line. Much maligned this year, but came up big in the big moments. I think that was the big thing in this game. The receivers were catching balls, offensive line protecting Mahomes, even when they tried to bring blitzes and exotics. It just didn't matter. But that goes to the next topic, Craig. What's just your thoughts on Buffalo as a whole? Like, is this a team that you have to blow it up? It's a team that you have to retool. Like, do you keep the coach? I think you keep the coach, but what do you think they need to do? Because as Alan said, they feel like they're right there, but they're just not getting it done as a team, as a whole, in these big games against, you guys, and, they lost to us and other teams. Just what do you think they need to do to get it finally over the hump?
I definitely wouldn't blow it up. I think they're really close. It's just, I mean, the losses they've had to the Chiefs in the playoffs, I don't put it all on them. There's been some pretty crazy moments, but I just think, late in the game, it was just the decision making and not having that like veteran mindset as a franchise where it's like, no, take the 6 or 7 yards, keep the ball in your possession, march down the field, don't settle for some super long field goal. Like, that's just a gamble. I wouldn't have done it, especially when the first kick, the 27-yarder, same sort of thing, sliced right, barely went in. They even said during the game, oh, that was close. Well, now you're going to line up 20 yards longer later in the night. Ooh,
good luck.
Yeah. So it was an exciting game. I was definitely stressed out. A lot of people see the heartbreak on these Bills fans.
Yeah,
I try to pretend like, oh, I would never get that upset. I wouldn't get upset like that. I wouldn't be like in tears, but trust me, I would have been really mad if they lost that game.
No doubt. I've experienced it before because I remember my team.
Internal, like,
yeah. No doubt. I mean, that happens if you're a true fan and you're a fanatic. Like, that happens. Like, I remember I was watching when we played the Rams, and I was just like, dang, Chase is open, and then Aaron Donald just blowing up the play, and I'm just like, I just yelled it loud. I was like, I just yelled the F-bomb. I was like, F-bomb. You know what I'm saying? Just real loud. I was like, dang it. I was just upset because it was just like we were that close of winning a Super Bowl. Like those moments happen as a fan. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't know if I would have got teary-eyed or anything, but you're just like, dang,
Yeah, but all these fans that pretend like, oh, I'd never get that invested. BS.
Yeah.
Your team loses a heartbreaker like that, you're going to wake up the next day pissed off.
Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. Real quick on the Bills before we kind of conclude the show and talk about the conference championship games. I think they got the good pieces to kind of build around. Dalton Kincaid, obviously Allen, and then James Cook, I thought showed a lot in that game. I think you got to get just a few more pieces offensively to help. Gabe Davis didn't play in that game. They got to get another receiver. Obviously, the rookie stepped up big in that one, but they need some more weapons, man. I think offensively, defensively, they need an elite pass rusher. I know you have Von Miller, but hasn't played a lot of the season. Wasn't all that effective. Made a couple plays, but they need more pass rushers, I think, and I think they need another linebacker as well. But that's our thoughts on that. We're going to look ahead to conference championships. Let's start with you guys. Baltimore KC, the first game. What's your thoughts, Craig?
So in this one, I think we're going to see an all-out performance from Lamar. No holds barred, all out. He's not going to shy away from the contact. This is on his shoulders. I expect that. As for the Chiefs, they have to put pressure on him, and they have to be physical. Someone has to get to him, sack him in the pocket, and then force him into these situations where you don't have to be overly aggressive, and then you can try to disrupt him. But they've got to get a hat on him, and they've got to play physical. Hopefully we won't see too many flags called in this one. The Kansas City defense is prone to flags, pass interferences, late hits. That's always a concern. But I think the other thing, Patrick Mahomes, 0 rushing touchdowns this year. Obviously, Lamar is the premier threat with his legs, but I think we're going to see Mahomes also have that that mindset going into it, where physically it's not going to matter to him. He's going to have a heroic performance. I think he's going to rush for a touchdown.
Respect. And I know you're going with the Chiefs to win that game,
Yes.
right? Okay, of course. Just had to make sure.
Mahomes magic.
Mahomes magic. Can't disagree there. Yeah, my quick thoughts is same thing, right? This Chiefs defense is good. I feel like they can lock you down. Haven't been able to say that in years past. I think you need the same performance offensively that you got in the past game against the Bills for that Chiefs offense. Got to step up big. You cannot have drops, right? You cannot have, offside penalties, things like that. Got to be able to catch the ball. Got to be able to make big plays in this game. It's going to matter because your possessions might be limited. I'm going to be honest with you. The Ravens like to run the football. They really do. They like to pound the rock. They like to control time of possession. A lot of times they're able to score. So it's going to be huge in that one. My quick X factor in that one, Craig, I got to go Isaiah Pacheco. I think if he's able to run hard and downhill, that just obviously makes it less of Mahomes he have to do. Obviously, he can do whatever in the game, but if you got that running game to go along with Mahomes' magic, you got to feel very, very good in that one as well. And then another quick X factor, Kyle Hamilton. Got to think about this young guy. We just talked about him, second year, already all-pro. He's a lot of the time, Craig, is going to be matched up against Travis Kelce. That's going to be an important matchup. Kelce balled against the Bills, 2 touchdowns, over 70-plus yards receiving. If he wins that matchup, likely the Chiefs are going to win that game. So Kyle Hamilton is one of my big X factors on defense for them. And I think offensively, I got to go Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is going to be very important. If he's able to have a big impact with his speed, I think that's probably one of the weaknesses for the corners for the Chiefs is the speed. If he can have some big plays in this game, they got to feel good. But I'm rolling with the Ravens. That is my pick for this one. But I think it'll be a great game.
Who has more targets, Kelce or Flowers?
Ooh. Kelce.
I can see that.
Yeah, I think Kelce. Even though he might get double teamed a little bit, I still think if it comes down to the game, it's either going to go to Kelce or I think Rashee Rice. But I say Kelce over Flowers.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's no chance he's getting single-digit targets in this game.
No.
But yeah, Pacheco, that guy's just perfect. Every time I see him, the effort he gives out of the backfield, how explosive he is such a headache because it's not just like a patient running attack. It's just like you give him the ball, he's just a pain in the ass to tackle.
No doubt.
And yeah, that touchdown he had was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, just never goes down, pulls defenders. I mean, kid's next level, only in the second year. I mean, he doesn't even look like a 7th-round draft pick. I mean, you guys got an absolute steal.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. He's come up so big these last 2 years. It's been ridiculous. And he'll obviously be a problem. You got to watch for him to break it loose. And then think it's going to come down pass protection for Kansas City, but then, as I said, someone's going to have to tackle Lamar Jackson, and that is not easy to do.
No doubt. And the last
Man.
one, 49ers in the Lions, man. I think this will be an interesting one too. This is the nightcap, 6:30 kickoff. Just what's your thoughts on that one, Craig?
I mean, Christian McCaffrey is obviously the X factor in that game. If he's able to go off for 2 or 3 touchdowns, it's gonna be hard to stop them. But I think Detroit's gonna win.
What?
Yes.
Everybody's high on Detroit, huh? Like the fourth person I talked to that said they're taking Detroit.
I
Wow.
think, yeah.
I'm shocked, man. I'm not gonna lie, I'm shocked. I mean, a lot of people I've talked to have said Detroit as well. I don't know, man. It's gonna be interesting. I think their defense is a little susceptible. I think in this one, I don't know, man. It's just I'm nervous. Like when golf's on the road, it's different than playing in that dome. The elements. I like Jahmyr Gibbs. I think the game's gonna be close. I really do, but I gotta go Niners, man. I go Niners. I think they're gonna be able to run the ball with McCaffrey, and I just trust their weapons a little bit more. Even if Debo does or doesn't play, I think they'll be able to come up big. I just think they're gonna have more success against their defense compared to the Lions. But my big X factor has got to be Jahmyr Gibbs. If they're gonna have a chance, as you mentioned, Craig, he has to have a good game. And I think they get him the ball in space, he's dangerous. He can beat you out the backfield running it, and also in the passing game. So he's gonna be a crucial element in this game. For me, if he can have a good one, Lions got a good chance. And the other one, I got to go either deep. Depends if Debo plays, but it's kind of a 1-2, Debo, Christian McCaffrey. I think those two got to have a good game if 49ers are going to have a chance. And it takes the pressure off of Purdy a little bit, him not having to do too much. But he showed at the end that he can lead a game-winning drive and, get them out there on the front. And he had to do that against the Packers. He was able to do it. So those are my X factors, going with the Niners.
All right. So do you have Niners against Ravens?
The Niners, Ravens, I
So
think
I got the opposite.
Yeah, Chiefs. I mean, that would be good. There
It wouldn't be good. I just think it'd be funny.
You think? I mean, there is a theory floating out there that the Super Bowl logo always has the teams that are going to be in. So I think that would defunct the theory a little bit, or debunk the theory, and I think that'd be great for the sport because you don't want any conspiracy like, oh, the NFL already kind of precludes who they're gonna put into the championship game. So I think that
would probably
be good.
do.
They already said it's scripted, so hopefully, I mean, that wouldn't be a bad Super Bowl to see. And they already played the season, and it was a good game.
Yeah,
Chiefs Lions already played.
Yeah, they played early.
Yeah, right. Detroit won by 1, so that would be intriguing for it all. But we will see, guys. I think that's all we got for today. Any concluding thoughts, Craig?
Nope. We'll have a story out on the Corky Co lineup here shortly. Basketball rankings tomorrow, and tune in then.
That's all we got, y'all. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week for another episode of Overlooked. And Craig will be back tomorrow for Drive for the GSA State title. See you then.